Baseball ASMR. Welcome and welcome back to Baseball ASMR, a YouTube channel where I talk about baseball in a relaxing way. Today I thought I'd do a video recapping the MLB season so far at the All-Star break, roughly the halfway point, a little bit after, because a lot of you liked my season preview videos. For both the AL and the NL, so I thought this would be a good idea, and I ran a poll, and I think a lot of you agreed. Today is going to be a little bit different, just because I'm not going to cover every team. I'm going to cover most teams. I'm going to cover all the contending teams, the teams that have a real chance to make the playoffs, and then I'll also cover some of the teams that are bigger disappointments this year, but, sorry, Rockies and Angels fans, not really going to get into your situations right now, and a few other teams. And then just one note, I'm recording this on Friday, July 10th, so all the stats and numbers and everything are current as of last night's games, Thursday, the 9th. And then as far as ABS, actually, I'll just put this graphic up. I just wanted to cover this because I covered it in my preview videos. You can see here the overall overturn rate of challenges is 53%. There's been almost 6,000 attempts, challenges this season. Batters have won 48%, while fielders, which is pitchers and catchers together, have won 58%. So basically, this is kind of what we all thought it would be, because the batters have a decent idea of the strike zone. So they get a little less than half, but pitchers, since they're still finishing their delivery, they have the worst percentage. I don't have it here. I think it's like 30 something, or maybe in the low 40s, because they're still moving when the pitch crosses the strike zone, so it's hard for them to gauge. Plus, pitchers want to win every pitch, so they're a little biased, sort of like batters are biased the other way. Catchers have the best percentage because they are still throughout the whole delivery, and they have the best view and the best idea of the strike zone. So I think they are best with challenging, and a lot of teams just have catchers challenge, or at least don't allow their pitchers to challenge. Everyone's sort of figuring it out as we go. But I just wanted to do a little update on ABS. And then one other note before we get going, I'm not going to get into the CBA negotiations between the teams and the players. Obviously, if you're unaware, the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement between the players and the clubs, expires on December 1st. So there's a lot of posturing and fake negotiating leading up to then, up to that point. Both sides are exchanging terms and things they'd like, but they're sort of at the point now where it's not real. They're just saying everything they want, and the real negotiating will happen later. And we don't know how it's going to impact everything. And this could be its own video. So I'm just not going to get into any of that, but just know that that's coming. And then, since this is the All-Star break, that means there is an All-Star game. So I'll put this graphic up. Here are the starters for both the AL and the NL. In the AL, we have Shea Langeliers at catcher, Yordan Alvarez at DH, Nick Kurtz at first, Ernie Clement at second, Junior Caminero at third, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Mike Trout in the outfield, along with Byron Buxton and Aaron Judge, despite his injury. And then in the NL, we have Drake Baldwin catching, Shohei Ohtani at DH, Freddie Freeman at first, Ozzie Albies at second, Max Muncy at third, CJ Abrams at short, and in the outfield, we have Brandon Marsh, Juan Soto, and Andy Pages. And then, of course, there is the bench and the pitching staff, which feature other players. Every team, of course, has to have one player at least represented in the All-Star game. So we have Hunter Goodman from the Rockies catching, but I think this is too many guys to go through. But you can check it out on your own for the AL bench and AL pitchers and the NL as well. For the home run derby, that's fun. I used to love watching this as a kid. It is Monday, 7/13 at 8 p.m., and it's on Netflix for the first time ever. So keep that in mind. And the past week, they've been sort of slowly rolling out, announcing who's going to be in it. So we've got Junior Caminero from the Tampa Bay Rays, Ben Rice from the Yankees, Jack Caglione. I think I'm saying that right, even though it doesn't read that way. Wilson Contreras from the Red Sox, and Caglione is from the Royals. We've got Jordan Walker, who's having a good year in St. Louis, and Bryce Harper, the hometown hero in Philadelphia, where the All-Star game will be played, and the home run derby. Now we'll get into the standings where all the teams and divisions stand at the moment. So we'll start with the NL. I think I'll do that throughout the video. We'll just start everything with the NL. We'll start with the East this time. Leading the NL East are the Braves. They are 54 and 38. It's pretty good. Then you have the Phillies at 52 and 42. And then, surprisingly, the Marlins at 52 and 42 also. And then the Nationals at 48 and 46. And then the Mets at 40 and 54. Pretty disappointing year for them so far. Don't think they're going to turn it around either. May talk about them in a minute. In the NL Central, leading we have the Brew Crew, 59 and 34. Pretty good record there. The Cubbies, 52, 41, in second place there. The Cardinals, 48 and 44. Then you've got the Pirates, dead even at 47-47. And the Reds coming in last at 42 and 50. So already you can kind of see some trends emerging here of which teams might be in the playoff hunt. Can I fit the NL West over here? Yeah, let's do the West over here. NL West. Who do you think is leading the NL West? I'll give you 5 guesses, and the first 4 don't count. We have the Dodgers. For space, I'm just going to abbreviate. They are at 61 and 33. They're the first team to 60 wins. San Diego Padres are next at 46 and 47. But also, the Diamondbacks are at 46 and 47. So they're tied for second place. Then we have the Giants of San Francisco at 39 and 54. And in last place in the West, we have 38 and 57, the Rockies. These teams are very underwhelming, although it looks like San Francisco's played 3 less games, so maybe they can make it up. No offense to any Giants fans. It's been a tough year. But that is the NL as it stands. Now let's do the AL. The AL standings, and we'll start with the East again. You've got the Tampa Bay Rays in first at 54-37. Then my Yankees are second at 51-42. Then you've got the Blue Jays at 44-49. The Red Sox in fourth place at 43-48. And in last, 43-51. I will say that this division did change a little bit over the past week or so as I was doing research and preparing for this video. Along with the AL West and the AL Central, there's a lot of jockeying for position going on, which I'll get into. And then in the Central, we have the surprising Chicago White Sox at 47-45. Then we have the Guardians of Cleveland, 48-46. And then we have the Twins, 46-48. After the Twins, we have Detroit, the Tigers. They are at 43-50. And in last place in the Central, we have Kansas City at 38-56. In the AL West, we have Texas leading at 47-46, followed by Seattle, 47-47. Then Houston at 46-49. And then we have the Athletics of No City, please, soon to be Vegas at 41-52. And in last place in the AL West are the Angels at 37-57. So not doing so good this year. Kansas City and the Angels, not so good. That's how it stands in the AL. And next, I just want to briefly cover the playoff odds for each team. It's too early to say who will win the division or has a chance to because, like I said, in the past week, a bunch of teams have jockeyed for position and fallen in and out of first place, especially in the AL. So I'm just going to do odds to make the playoffs. I'm going to try and get the NL and AL all on the same whiteboard here. So the NL playoff odds are as follows. The Dodgers are at 100%, followed by the Brewers, 99.3%, and then the Braves, 93.3%, then the Phillies, 85.2%, then the Cubs, 75.3%, and then we start to have a drop off here. The Marlins, 51.2%, then Pittsburgh, 29.2%, another drop off here. They kind of have like a group here and then there. You've got St. Louis next at 29 flat. And then you've got another drop off here. And you have Arizona next at 14.2. And then you've got the Padres, 11.1%. This is from Fangraphs, by the way. The Nationals at 7.4%. Then the Mets, 2.3% chance to make the playoffs, followed by Cincinnati, 1.6%. San Francisco at 0.7%. And the Colorado Rockies, 0%. So, some groupings here. These are the real contenders, the kind of contender, the not really contending, but kind of, and then the rest in various degrees of maybe making the playoffs. And now the AL. We start with Tampa Bay at 97.1%. That's a terrible percent sign, forgive me. Then the Yankees, 95.2. Then Seattle at 78.2. Then you have the Rangers, 61.2. Then the Guardians at 52.7. Then you've got Detroit, 36.9%. So you've got like a bit of a dividing line there between 52.7 and 36.9. Then the Twins, 36.6%. Houston, 31 flat. Followed by Boston at 30.1%. And then the Blue Jays at 29.8% chance. Then the White Sox, despite leading their division, only 29.6% chance, according to Fangraphs. Then the Orioles, 15.7%. So another grouping here. The Athletics, 5.1%. Kansas City Royals, 0.8%. And in last, the Angels at 0.1% chance to make the playoffs. So, what are some trends we can find here? In the NL, you can see that it's more top-heavy. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around 75-80% or over. In the AL, you've only got 3 teams over 75%. Sorry, that's 78. My marker's dying here. So we've only got 3 teams at the top here, then 2 here and another tier below, and then a bunch of teams that are on the cusp in the East and the Central, and one from the West. But clearly there is more defined playoff favorites in the NL than the AL, which is consistent with an overall narrative this season of the AL being, the junior circuit, the lesser league, sort of like in basketball, the East has been the lesser league, with the West being better for the better part of, a decade or two. Although the Knicks did just win. Congrats to them, of course. Living here in New York, it was amazing to watch their run. I wouldn't say I'm a Knicks fan. I did not go through the hard times, but it was awesome to root for them and watch them win. And I went to the parade even, and it was really fun. Anyways, so those are the playoff odds. Next, we're going to start just recapping the season for different teams, and we'll start with the most disappointing teams, starting with the NL and then moving to the AL, like I said. Okay, let's get into the teams that have underwhelmed this year. And of course, who else would we start with if we're starting in the NL than the New York Mets? They are, I hate to say it, a disaster. Now, if you watched my season preview video, I did say that I wasn't sure. I couldn't figure the team out. They had a high ceiling and a low floor because they had so much roster turnover. They let Alonso go. They let Edwin Diaz go. And they brought in a bunch of guys who could be good or could not be good, but I don't know. Whenever you have a lot of change, it's hard to evaluate before they play, and you don't know if it's going to come together. And clearly it hasn't. They have some guys playing out of position too. Jorge Polanco is not really a first baseman. And some of the Marcus Semien is underperforming. I think maybe they missed Nimmo probably. So they have underperformance. I'm going to try and get through this one with this marker, then switch. Despite the second highest payroll in the sport. Plus, they've got this simmering Juan Soto Lindor beef, which is strange. It's not like an open hostility thing or like they're not fighting each other. It's nothing crazy like that, but it's like sort of a cold shoulder. Like I've heard it described as a high school kind of vibe of like who's talking to whom and who hangs out with whom and tracking all this stuff. It's not all that dissimilar to how Jeter and A-Rod were when A-Rod came to the Bronx. It's just kind of a weird vibe, and it seems to be affecting the clubhouse. And so, long gone are the nice times of Grimace and OMG and making the NLCS 2 seasons ago. They're not even going to make the playoffs this year, so their best hope is to trade pieces at the deadline and restock for next year, even though we don't know what's going to happen with the looming lockout and everything. But this is not their year. They're doing quite poor, and they need to figure some stuff out. For a little while, it was between them and the Red Sox for who was the biggest disaster, but it seems like the Sox are starting to turn it around, and we have yet to see that in Queens. The next most disappointing team in the NL, the San Diego Padres. So I've got my new marker here. Hopefully that helps you see everything a little better. The Padres are dead last in runs with 363. For reference, surprisingly, the Nationals, number one, with 508. So that's quite a bit behind. They are also last in batting average, 22nd in home runs, try not to write on my hat, and 22nd in run differential, which measures how much you score versus how much you let up. They're minus 41. I don't know what's going on with them because on paper they still have the same lineup that's pretty formidable and has been in past years. But you got Machado. He's hitting 188. And you got Tatis. He's only got 5 home runs. And Jackson Merrill, he's sitting at a cool 631 OPS, below league average. And that's not enough in a tough NL West this year. But it's not all on the offense. After ace Michael King, he's having a good year. But after him, you've got Walker Buehler. He's got a 5.07 ERA. And you got Randy Vasquez. He's got a 4.71 ERA. And neither of them are even at half a WAR, win above replacement. Buehler's at 0.3. And Vasquez is at 0.2 WAR. So the bullpen is the lone bright spot because you've got probably the best bullpen in the sport down in San Diego. They've got Mason Miller, Jason Adam, Wandy Peralta, Adrian Morajone, and Bradley Rodriguez. And they've kept them in games and in the hunt for a wild card. They are second in the NL West, but if you look closer, they they are 14 and a half games back. They're not catching the Dodgers, and no one else is, unless something crazy happens to both LA and another NL West team. But that said, they are just 5.5 games back of a wild card in the NL, so it's not out of the question. They've got an aggressive GM who makes a lot of trades at the deadline. It's just that the new owner, is a question mark. Will he approve more spending or trading the farm away? So it's not all bad for the Padres, but it's not all good. They're not doing great. I think people had higher expectations. I know I did. Next in the NL disappointment department are the Reds. They started 20-11, but have since gone 22-39. Of course, you've got Hunter Green on the IL with, I think it's a shoulder injury he's coming back from surgery. He hasn't pitched this season. And then you've got Ellie De La Cruz, who just joined him on the IL. But the main story is just underperformance. Eugenio Suarez has been a bust, signing him back, unfortunately. He had such a good year last year for Seattle, but he's not been good. Ke'Bryan Hayes is under the Mendoza line. And starting pitchers, Nick Lodolo and Brady Singer, have both underperformed. Along with closer Emilio Pagan. Sorry, this is messy, but closer Emilio Pagan has a 6.46 ERA, and that's just not very good. So, I'm not going to get into much more with them, but, there's a very bleak silver lining. Despite their negative 57 run differential, which is 25th, they're 9 games back of a wild card. That's a lot of ground to cover, but crazier things have happened. Maybe they get some guys back from the IL. Maybe they're able to get someone at the deadline. Manager Terry Francona, who's great, squeezes out every last drop of talent and energy from these guys, and maybe they can get into the playoffs. I mean, they did it last year, which was more about the Mets not making it and imploding at the end, but they're going to need a little help like that again if they're going to make the playoffs. So, being this far back, they're last in the Central. They're 9 games back in the wild card. This is less than I personally thought they would do this year. So, they're on my disappointment list. And lastly, in the NL disappointment list, for me at least, are the Pirates. Now, they're not doing terrible, okay? So they're 47-47, right? And they're only 5 games back of a wild card spot. That's pretty good for a franchise that hasn't finished over 500 since 2018. So if they just did this in the second half and maybe they were 1 game over 500, I think they'd be happy with that, whether or not they made the playoffs. They're moving in the right direction. They're third in runs per game. Is that 5.22 runs per game? They're fifth in OPS plus. But they've lost 9 straight Paul Skeens starts. That's not a good recipe for success when he's your reigning NL Cy Young winner. And the pitching outside of Skeens' starts has been pretty meh. Outside Skeens. Meh. They're 16th in ERA. They're 27th in saves. They are 15th in whip and 10th in batting average against. And even Skeens' fastball velo has been going down, I saw, which could be troubling. I don't know. It's one metric. It doesn't tell the whole story, but that's not a good sign. Then on the IL, you've got Connor Griffin, who just joined O'Neill Cruz and Spencer Horowitz. So that's not great. But, all that said, if they make the postseason, if they make the playoffs, I think they'll be happy. I guess I just had higher hopes for them. I just thought this might be their year to break through, especially in an NL Central that isn't super competitive this year. Even though the Cardinals have surprised, it's still not a great division. It's all right. They also started 16-11, and it looked like they were really going to do it and like maybe win the Central. But there's still time. They're just at 500. But if they just make the playoffs or get close, I think those are baby steps in the right direction. But it's still a little underwhelming what I thought. But maybe my expectations were misguided. And then lastly, I'm not going to cover them here in depth, but the San Francisco Giants are disappointing too. I think some people had playoff hopes for them. They have some bright spots on their roster, but outside the fan base, I'm not sure a lot of people had them as a playoff team. So they are underwhelming as well, but we won't dive into them. Now we'll go to the AL teams that have disappointed. In the AL, the disappointments, it brings me great joy as a Yankees fan to tell you that the Boston Red Sox have been the number one disappointment in the AL. Sorry. I can't believe that they fired their manager, Alex Cora, because he's so good as a manager. He immediately started getting calls for other jobs, but it seems like he's taking the year off. He's going to see what teams do this year, what happens, and then probably join a team next year or maybe the year after. But, he's getting paid either way, so might as well just take the year off and relax. Since these jobs are so demanding, you might as well enjoy the time while you have it. And then, strangely, their off-season moves have worked. I mean, they got Sonny Gray, who is pitching great. I think he just passed 2,000 career strikeouts, so good for him. Wilson Contreras, Ranger Suarez, they're all doing well. The problem is that Roman Anthony has missed time. He's only played 30 games. And fellow youngster Marcelo Meyer has underperformed. And so has the infield as a whole. Now, their expected win-loss, I don't have it here, but it says that they should be better than they are. But it's still only at 500 is what it projected them at. So, the stats people think that they should be better than they have been, but still they're grading out as a 500 team, which makes sense given where they are in the division and everything. I will say that they did sweep the Yankees recently at the end of June, and they have been playing better since then. It's definitely possible the second half, they go on a run, they make the playoffs as a wild card team. But the next couple weeks are going to be very important because if they continue to slide, they can sell off pieces like Sonny Gray, Aroldis Chapman, Wilson Contreras, and just sort of restock for next year. But if they, win series and start creeping up, maybe they add. It's going to be very interesting because all the Boston sports teams have been making strange moves, with the Celtics, Jaylen Brown trade and everything. These owners are more tight-fisted and less emotional, even when it comes to their star players, dating back to Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts and Rafi Devers. I don't know what they're going to do. Firing Alex Cora, who knows what they're going to do? Who knows what they want to do? But it's been nice to watch them struggle as a Yankees fan. Next in the AL for disappointments are the Detroit Tigers. I think they had some expectations because in the offseason they added Framber Valdez and the homecoming with Justin Verlander. But, he's only made one game started before going on the IL. And Framber, his ERA starts with a 4. So does Jack Flaherty's. And Skubal, the reigning AL Cy Young winner, missed time. He had that nano needle procedure on his elbow, some new one. So he missed time. So the starting rotation that was formidable on paper has underperformed and gotten injured. And despite a nice rookie year from Kevin McGonigal, Professor McGonigal, as the talking baseball guys say, the offense has been quite bad. Poor. They are number 1 in MLB with 26 losses after having a lead. They have some decent pieces in the bullpen, and of course, they could trade away starting pitching. It seems like they're probably going to be sellers at the deadline, especially given that Skubal's in his final year, and Scott Boras is his agent, as we all know. If you don't know, he's a mega star agent, and he's Skubal's agent, and he almost always has his clients go to free agency to see how much they're worth rather than sign an extension. So, especially given that Skubal and the Tigers disagreed over his final year of arbitration salary, and then Skubal won with a record amount, I think $33 million. So it just doesn't seem like it's headed towards an extension or a re-signing. He's probably going to a bigger market for more money. So it would be wise for them to trade Skubal and get something more than just a compensation draft pick if they just let him walk. So yeah, they've underperformed. Some people thought they could win the Central. They made the playoffs last year, and they had pitching chaos the year before. So they've definitely underperformed. But yeah, not as much as the Red Sox. Next, I've got the Kansas City Royals, who have underperformed. Very sad. You got Bobby Witt Jr. having another MVP-like year. And of course, we talked about him earlier. Jack Caglianone is a star on the rise. He's having a good year. He's doing the home run derby. It looks like Father Time has finally caught up to Salvi Perez. the captain, the only other captain than Aaron Judge in the league. He's got a 603 OPS, good for a 70 OPS plus. It's pretty poor. The Pasquatch, Vinny Pasquantino, and Michael Garcia are both underperforming. I'm just going to abbreviate that. And Michael Wacha in the rotation, he's the only starter with an ERA under 4.10. So everyone else is worse than that. And the rest of the staff hasn't been much better, including the bullpen, because the team ERA is 4.86, and that's 28th in MLB. So, if the offense isn't going and the pitching isn't going, the team's not going to go. So they're last place in the Central, and it would be wise for them to restock the farm system because it's ranked 19th by Fangraphs. So, yeah, not their year. Thought maybe they could do a little something. They have good pieces. They could turn around, maybe get a wild card, but probably not at this point. So probably better to restock the farm system since it's not doing so great, which is a similar thing that'll come up for another team. But this other team is actually in playoff contention, but could fall out a bit. So how's that for a tease? Next on the disappointment list for the AL are the Blue Jays of Toronto. You've got that World Series hangover effect. There's an N there. The worst AL June record. And they dipped under 500 in early April. Haven't been back over, which is kind of sad. So what's going on? They're 29th in runs per game. They are 24th in home runs, 28th in RBI, and in that area that helped fuel them to the World Series last year, hitting for contact, they are only 15th in batting average, 244. So the new guy, the new signing, Kazuma Okamoto, he can't carry the offense himself. He's got 21 home runs, 59 RBI, and a 776 OPS, but that was a 979 in June. He can't do it himself. Vladito has not played up to his contract. Which was $500 million. And you've got Springer and guys like Kirk underperforming too. You got to hope that they return to form if they're going to repeat the postseason run they had last year. It's possible. And they've had some starting pitching injuries. But despite that, they're 12th in team ERA. They're 11th in batting average against. They're 14th in WHIP. There's an H. Walks and hits per inning pitched. And Jeff Hoffman has been good lately. So it's not over yet for them. They had a bunch of injuries to their starting rotation, plus also Scherzer has not pitched well. But they're still middle of the pack here, and Hoffman's been good lately. And they are sending 4 All-Stars to Philadelphia for the All-Star game. So despite all this, they're still pretty good. I know part of that is a fan vote, but sending 4 All-Stars is a real thing. It's Ernie Clement, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Dylan Cease, and Louis Varland. And more importantly, they're only 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot. So it's not over for the Bluebirds. I like watching them, even though they're a division rival and they sometimes talk trash. I think they're a fun young team to watch. I think they'll make a push. We'll see what the deadline has in store for them, but I think they can turn it around. But they have underperformed, and they're sort of another example of the World Series hangover, especially since they made it to extra innings of Game 7 of the World Series and lost. That's got to deal a blow to the psyche. And then similarly to the Giants, I'm not going to cover them in depth, but in the AL, the Athletics have underwhelmed, but they're sort of still on an upward trajectory before they move to Las Vegas. They're slowly signing players and to extensions and adding to their roster, but I don't think they're really going to make any big moves till next year or the year after when they finally move there. So I think they're sort of kind of in the realm of what you expect. Plus, another big disappointment would be the Orioles. They've got no winning streaks longer than 3 games, and their offense has been very up and down. But the rotation's been better of late in Baltimore, so it's possible they could put something together, but they're already in last place, so might be tough for the Orange Birds. All right, that does it for the disappointments. Now let's get into the contenders, and we'll start with the NL. So covering the contenders in the NL, who do you think we're starting with if we're going in sort of in order of best record? That's right, it's the LA Dodgers. The Goliath, the number 1 payroll by a country mile, the team ruining the sport, or so people say. They're looking to three-peat for the first time since the New York Yankees in the late 90s, early 2000s. One of 3 teams. Sending 5 to the All-Star game. That would be Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Andy Pages. They were first to 50 wins. They were first to 60 wins. And despite some starting pitching injuries, they are 14.5 games up in the NL West. The Unicorn, Shohei Ohtani. It looks like he's on his way to winning yet another MVP award. Or is it a Cy Young this year? Maybe he wants that because that's the one he doesn't have yet. Must be nice to have these problems. World Series MVP, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He has a 2.49 ERA in 16 starts. And Justin Robleski has a 2.69 ERA. And that's with Glasnow and Snell on the IL. So these guys are filling in just fine, and Sasaki and everyone else, and Ohtani. And then last year, Andy Pages, basically unplayable. And this year, he's an all-star. He's got 16 home runs and 4.2 WAR at the break. He's turned it around. And those aren't even the big names that we know and love, like I just said, Freddie Freeman and all them, or the 2 big offseason additions of Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz. Tucker's hitting a league average OPS, and Edwin Diaz, I don't think, has pitched this year because he had elbow surgery. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, expect to see them in October and probably a deep playoff run to either or both of the NLCS or World Series. They have the best World Series odds. I think it's like 27%, and every other team is the teens or lower. Next in the playoff odds are the Milwaukee Brewers. Similar to the Guardians every year, they get counted out because they have a small payroll and they play small ball and all that in the era of the long ball and big wallet. But, they're right in the mix every year. And here they are. They were the second fastest team to 50 wins. They're on pace for 100 wins. And they have a plus 137 run differential. I don't know how you abbreviate that. You've got The Miz. He's a breakout star, throwing absolute gas. Like I don't know have the exact stat here, but it's like of the 30 fastest pitches ever, he's got, at least half of them. And then you've got Kyle Harrison and Brandon Woodruff also pitching well. Though he did just go on the IL for inflammation. He should be back soon. Jackson Chourio, or as the Venezuelan fans said in the WBC this year, Chourio. He's playing well, along with Wilson Contreras, an all-star, and Bryce Terang. They're all playing well. And yet, respectfully, are they for real? I think they're for real. I mean, the thing is, though, that they got swept by the Dodgers in the playoffs last year. And it's still kind of a question. Like, you need power, you need home runs to win in the postseason. The regular season does not equal the postseason. In the short series in the playoffs, you need home runs to win sometimes. And so does their recipe of speed, pitching, defense, does that equal a World Series? Or is the NLCS, if they make that, is that a win for them? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it might be the time. They don't normally do this, but is it the time for an all-in move at the deadline? Finally, just push the chips in and see what happens, because they're close. They have a really good team, but they might need one big power bat to get over the hump. Next, third in the NL by record are the Atlanta Braves. I'm actually traveling there in a little while. I'm looking forward to going to the stadium for the first time, seeing the team. Finally free of the 2025 IL woes, other than losing Spencer Schwellenbach and Herschel Waldrop in spring training, and of course Jurickson Profar's suspension. They are finally playing to their potential after a year of not doing that. So like the Dodgers, they're sending 5 guys to the All-Star game. They're sending Drake Baldwin, Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, Chris Sale, and Raisel Iglesias. And they also lead the NL East. They are 5th in team ERA. That would be 3.61. They are 6th in runs per game at 4.93. If they get Schwelly and Waldrop back, wow, that's really not legible. Plus some deadline moves by the maestro of the deadline, Alex Anthopoulos. Can they get back to the World Series for the first time since they won in 2021? I think they can. They made some great outfield moves that deadline that really helped them, Soler and Duvall and Peterson. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're doing really well. If they really want to take on the Dodgers, I think they'll have to make some moves, but they're playing really well down in Atlanta. And I look forward to seeing what they do at the deadline and in the postseason. Fourth in the NL by record would be the Cubs of Chicago. Now, they've been up and down. Okay, I think any Cubs fan would tell you that. They've had 2 10-game winning streaks, and 1 10-game losing streaks. One 10-game losing streak. Plus, they've had pitching injuries in the rotation and bullpen, and your garden variety underperformance. But they are on a 90-win pace. They have the 5th best run differential, and they are second in the NL Central to the Brewers, who are playing really, really well. So to be second to them is a pretty good pat on the back, right? Plus, they hold the top NL wild card right now. You've got PCA equals MVP question mark. He is currently leading MLB, every single player, position players and pitchers in WAR with 5.7 at the break. And in second place, who was recently tied with him, might be untied by the time this video comes out. Ohtani is number 2 at 5.6 WAR. But he moved ahead of Ohtani last night. And then you've also got Suzuki and Carson Kelly playing well. They're around 120 OPS plus. And with Happ and Michael Busch not far behind. So despite some other underperformance from the lineup and some pitchers, they played well enough to make the playoffs. So maybe with a little injury luck and bounce backs and maybe some additions, can they make a deep run? I think so. They look pretty good. We'll see what happens in the second half, but so far so good for a team that's dealt with adversity. Next up are the hosts of the All-Star Game, the Philadelphia Phillies. They started 9-19, fired the manager, Rob Thompson, and then turned things around. Turn it around. Now they're just 3 games back in the NL East and hold an NL wildcard spot. And most impressively, they are 18-6 in 1-run games. That's really good. They are also sending 5 players to the All-Star Game, like the Braves and Dodgers. Brandon Marsh, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Christopher Sanchez, and Joan Duran. They had a great June, going 18-9 under new manager Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball. Interim manager, excuse me. He doesn't have the full job yet. Kyle Schwarber was the first to 30 home runs this season. You've got Marsh. He's top 10 in batting average. And you've got Harper with a 130 OPS plus. They're all playing really well. Then you've got Christopher Sanchez. He's pitching like a Cy Young candidate. And you've got Wheeler also pitching well. And Duran has been lights out in the 9th. Sure, the core is a little old. It's the same guys that haven't been able to get over the hump or get to the World Series since I think it was, what year was it? Was it 23 or 17? 19? I forget. But, it's the same core. They're a little top heavy, but they have a good team. They definitely are up there. And, if they get some deadline help, who knows what can happen. I think our trades plus Donnie baseball and some overperforming, can that get them to a deep playoff run again? Who knows? Sixth in the NL are the Miami Marlins. The surprise Miami Marlins. I don't think anyone had them on their bingo card this year. A surprise youth movement. Team with the lowest payroll and second lowest attendance are in contending for a wild card spot and sending two to the All-Star game in Max Meyer and Otto Lopez. They had a dominant June. I think they were the best in baseball in June. They went 20-6, playing themselves into the playoffs, or at least into contention. They had the lowest ERA in the month and a 798 OPS, which was tied for fourth. Like I said, Max Meyer is having a breakout year. Former first-round pick. Tyler Phillips has been good out of the pen. And Sandy is looking back to his old form after last year not doing so well after surgery. This year, he's 10-4 with a 4 ERA, which is much better because last year he was 11-12 with a 5.36. If they can get Yuri Perez back on track, because he's only 5-6 with a 3.84 ERA, they can get him back on track. They'll have a legit top of the rotation. Then in the lineup, you've got Otto Lopez, Xavier Edwards, Liam Hicks, and Kyle Stowers. Stowers. They're all producing, and the bullpen has also been good. So they have a good formula here. It's not like there's any one big name that's going to blow you away, but they're all contributing, which is what you want in a team sport, right? So the deadline equals very interesting because most years they sell people off and see what they can get back because they are so cost conscientious as the lowest payroll team. Are they going to ship out Sandy Alcantara finally? I think he's in his last year of his team control or his extension, whatever. Or are they going to finally bring people in and try to make a playoff run? I guess we'll see, but I'm just glad they're doing well. They're a fun team to watch. And finally, in NL playoff contention, we have another surprise team, the St. Louis Cardinals. I think they might be baseball's biggest surprise. It's between them and the Marlins, I would say. But they came into the year with very low expectations. They thought it was a rebuilding year. They sold guys off. They traded guys. They thought it wasn't going to be much of a year. And going into the year, maybe they would lose 90 games, which is not what they're used to in St. Louis. But that's not what's happening. They're just 3 games out of a wild card spot. And they've got these potential long-term pieces, whether they're young or not, that have emerged this year. You got Jordan Walker now doing the home run derby. You've got Alec Burleson and J.J. Weatherholt, who is looking like he might be a Rookie of the Year candidate in the NL. You've got DH Ivan Herrera. He's got a 7.85 OPS, and he's only 26. Plus, you've got Michael McGreevy. He's only 25. So only time will tell. If St. Louis is ready for prime time. But they are ahead of schedule in the best way. Which I think, if you compare this to the Pirates, both are sort of having good years, but in different ways. I think the expectations play a big role in how we perceive things, right? If we thought the Pirates were going to be a playoff team and they're not, they're disappointing. But if the Cardinals, we thought were going to lose 90 and now they might be a playoff team, look at that. But in reality, maybe they're more close than we like to admit. That does it for the NL contenders. Now we'll move to the AL contenders. And now the AL contenders. We start with the number one team by record, the Tampa Bay Rays. Despite their 23rd highest payroll, they are number one in the AL and the first to 50 wins in the AL. They've gotten great starting pitching from Rasmussen, the last start against the Yankees notwithstanding, McClanahan, and Martinez. Then you've got Brian Baker. He's second in saves in the AL. And Yandy Diaz in the conversation for his second batting title, because he's first in the AL with batting average at .326. He's second only to Otto Lopez of the Marlins, a fellow Floridian. You've got Junior Caminero and Jonathan Aranda playing very well. Junior's got 3.4 WAR and a 150 OPS plus, and Aranda's got 27 home runs. He's got 27 home runs, and Aranda's got a 132 OPS plus. Kevin Kelly and Griffin Jacks joined Baker in the pen as a good back end. And they are one of 3 teams to send 4 All-Stars to Philly. They've got Junior, Yandy, Drew Rasmussen, and Brian Baker. Is this the year that they finally break through and reestablish themselves as a playoff team after a few years out? I mean, they were one of the first teams to really lean into analytics and invented openers and bullpenning in a real serious modern way. Is this year the year that they, despite their low payroll, prove that once again that they can be right up there with the best? So far, it seems like they can. Next, in terms of record in the AL, the Chicago White Sox. They are another surprise. I guess you could argue that they might be more surprising than the Marlins or Cardinals, but I think they showed some signs of life and signed Murakami and whatnot, so maybe they're not. I don't know. Hard to say. Their 5.11, 5.11 winning percentage is much better than last year, .370. Their 4.67 runs per game is 10th in baseball. And it's higher than their 3.99 from last year. And they're one of only two teams with three players who have 20 home runs, along with the Nationals. So they're showing some real power. Colson Montgomery is showing his power. We've got Miguel Vargas having a breakout season with 2.8 WAR, and he's an all-star. And we've got, when they get Murakami and Kyle Teal back from the IL, that will help the offense even further. Rookies, Montgomery, Sam Antonacci, and Tristan Peters are all contributing. They've all stepped up into big roles on the team. Davis Martin has pitched well with 10 quality starts, 9 wins, and 3 WAR. Despite $20 million closer, Sir Anthony Dominguez, not pitching well. Yeah, he's not been good. So they need bullpen and maybe starting pitching help if they're going to not sell, if they're going to go for it. Which I think they will, and they should. I mean, they're playing really well. I know Fangraphs has their odds pretty low, but they're in a weak division, and the AL it's weak this year as well, so why not try to go for it ahead of schedule? You never know what can happen, right? These windows don't stay open forever. Next, by record in the AL, are my New York Yankees. They played well to start the season, as they always do, but the June was very bad, 11-14. We call it the summer swoon, the June swoon, the summer swoon. Every year they have a downturn in the middle of the year, which the team doesn't really have any answers for. I mean, it could be like their core is usually older than other teams, so once the grind sets in, maybe they get tired and out of energy. Hard to say. But despite that, all that, the roster is deeper and better than past years. They have a plus 85 run differential, which is 60 points higher, nearly 60 points higher than the next AL team, which would be the Tampa Bay Rays at plus 28. They are sending 4 to the All-Star game, one of the 3 AL teams to do so. It's Aaron Judge, Ben Rice, Cody Bellinger, and Cam Schlittler, who has an argument to start the game and is in contention for the AL Cy Young. He's having a great season after breaking out last postseason against the Red Sox. They're waiting on Judge, Stanton, and Max Fried to return from the IL. Those are some big names they're missing. They recently got back Ryan McMahon and Trent Grisham in center and third and center, respectively, which have helped a little bit with defense and some more with defense than hitting, but both. And they also got Cole back this year from Tommy John. He's doing okay. He doesn't look quite up to form. And Rodon's coming back from elbow injuries, but also to mixed results. They desperately need bullpen help. It's not been a very good area for them. They need a right-handed catcher because Austin Wells has been the worst hitter. Basically, he has a 483 OPS, which is worst of any player with 200 plate appearances or more. 200 plus plate appearances. They might need starting pitching help. Like I said, Fried's hurt. These guys are coming back. Will Warren and Ryan Weathers are pitching okay, but not great. They might need third base help because Ryan McMahon and Rosario, the platoon that they have now, is not hitting super great. But maybe they just, move some of their own guys around. Maybe they can bring up George Lombard to play short and move Caballero to third, because Anthony Volpe doesn't look like he's a major league player after 3 years of trying. And one Gold Glove, he still doesn't look like he belongs, in my opinion. But we'll see how these returns go. Judge is due to be imaged soon from his cracked rib. Stanton had a setback or a new injury while he was rehabbing from his calf injury. So they kind of are in a little bit of limbo. We'll see what they do at the deadline. They definitely need bullpen help and a catcher. But other than that, I think they're just going to wait it out and hopefully try to get a wild card or maybe win the division. But I don't know. The past few years, my team, these Yankees, have kind of limped into the playoffs. They lost the division to Toronto last year. And, that costs you in the postseason. They had to start their fourth starter to start the DS against Toronto, who was well rested, and they started their number one pitcher. So it does matter winning the division, and then the Yankees don't really always seem to care about that. Next in the AL, we've got the Cleveland Guardians, led by the two-time defending manager of the year, Stephen Vogt. Here they are again. When some count them out, they are always hanging around. In the same June game, they lost J-Ram, Jose Ramirez, Angel Martinez, and young sensation Chase DeLauter to the IL. But that said, DeLauter has returned, and J-Ram hopefully back soon. And they need him because they've had a poor offense. You've got Kwan hitting 220. But they've stayed afloat despite the poor offense. It's mostly because of the starting pitching success. Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, and rookie Parker Messick. And they've pitched very well in the rotation, as well as all-star Cade Smith and Colin Holderman in the pen. They've only used 5 starting pitchers. Very impressive in this day and age. The team's ERA is eighth best in MLB. Messick has the most WAR in the rotation with 3.2. He's somewhat of a dark horse Cy Young candidate because he's also got a 2.80 ERA and a 1.09 WHIP. Fellow rookie Travis Bazzana has also proven he's the real deal. He's got 268 big league at-bats. He's got a 108 OPS plus, 22 extra base hits, and 12 stolen bases. But more impressively, his plate discipline and walk rate are more like a seasoned veteran. And he's also got 0 double plays that he's grounded into. The path to success, you get J. Ram back to jumpstart the offense, and you get the two-time manager of the year, helping everyone play to the top of the talent. And who knows, maybe they even add someone at the deadline. But they're playing pretty well. They're in a weak division, a weak league. They can do what they do and get in the playoffs and see what happens. Who knows, maybe John Kenzie Noel can go get hot again, right? Or is he even on the team anymore? I don't know. But they need some power. Like I said about the Brewers, you need some power in the postseason. So we'll see where they get that from. Next, we've got the Mariners. They got to Game 7 of the ALCS last year and had high hopes this year, but they've just sort of underperformed. A very common theme amongst all these teams this year. Cal Raleigh, he's got a hangover from his record setting 2025. Big Dumpers he's got a minus 0.1 WAR this year. 68 OPS plus. Not very good. That's worse than Salvi Perez. But he's not the only one responsible for their middling offense. Josh Naylor and Leo Rivas are both at minus 0.2 WAR. Or Luke Raley and JP Crawford are both at 0.3 or 0.3 and 0.5 respectively. And then you've only got the best to ever do it, Randy Arozarena and Cole Young performing. And Julio. Those are the only guys really producing on offense. That's their WAR totals so far. You've also got Dom Canzone at 1.6. But as always, starting pitching is their engine in Seattle. They were flirting with a six-man rotation for a little bit. I don't think they're going to actually go through with it because they've got so much of it to go around. They are third in WHIP, fourth in ERA, eighth in shutouts by starters, and eighth in batting average against. And that's all despite closer Andres Munoz blowing 5 of his first 20 saves. They need bounce backs, especially on offense in the second half, to get their season back on track. But I think they can do it. We'll see. I mean, if Cal Raleigh even does half of what he did last year, that'll be more than what he's doing now, and that will really help the team. So maybe a week off helps him get there, because I don't think he's an all-star. Entering the home stretch here. Next, we've got the Minnesota Twins. Byron Buxton is arguably having his best year. He's batting .271 with 25 home runs and 3.1 WAR. You've got Cody Clemens and Ryan Jeffers playing well on the position player side. And you've got Joe Ryan and Taj Bradley on the pitching side, all having good years. But the bullpen equals a question mark. 11 guys have at least one save. And the rest of the rotation, after the aforementioned Ryan and Bradley, is 19th in ERA, rotation ERA. Plus the front office, what are they doing? They've sold players off in recent years and it hasn't really worked out. The returns haven't done much. Plus, they're the 22nd highest player payroll. So you add that up, and it's not really a recipe for success. That's why they're in third place in the Central. But, since the Central is weak, that does mean they're only 2 games back of the division and 1 game back of a wild card. That's crazy because they're 46 and 48. They're not a good team. They're an okay team, but that's the AL this year. It's the junior circuit. Speaking of junior circuit and middling teams, the next up are the Texas Rangers, your 2023 World Series champs. They are 47 and 46, which is not very good, but in a meh AL West, that means they're in first. Josh Young, Brandon Nimmo coming over from the Mets, and Jock Peterson have carried the offense so far, which is good news because 2-time World Series MVP Corey Seager, he's just hitting 182. Plus, Wyatt Langford has also been contributing. Hopefully he can keep up his 811 OPS to help make up for Seager and everyone else. Because overall the offense is 25th in runs, 21st in home runs, 14th in strikeouts. Not doing great. But they've still got Eovaldi, DeGrom, and Mackenzie Gore, and Kumar Rocker too. Maybe he can put it together. That is a good post-season rotation that can be formidable in October. But they need to bounce back. How many times have I said that? Bounce backs plus external ads to do anything really special this postseason. And finally, in the AL playoff picture, we've got the Houston Astros. They've played pretty poorly. They were 11 under 500 in late May. They're currently 46 and 49. But again, the AL West is weak. That means they're only 2 games back. And the AL is weak, which means they are 1.5 games back of the final wild card spot. It looks like they're probably going to make the playoffs if they keep this up. So they had a slew of injuries. Especially 2 starting pitchers. But the rotation's getting healthy again. And Jordan is playing like Jordan. Like almost an MVP level. The team overall, 3rd in home runs in the whole sport, 4th in saves, and middle of the pack in enough of the rest of categories to tread water. Health and reinforcements is the recipe for success. But will Dana Brown, will he add they're such a middling team. I don't know. I mean, they're very close to the playoffs, but I just want to mention the farm system is 29th ranked by Fangraphs. Over the past decade, they've been in and out of the World Series, winning some, cheating in others, and they have depleted their farm system to make trades at the deadline and whatnot to make such a good roster. But they're sort of at the end of the road here with this core that has evolved over the years, and now their farm system is not doing so well. So do they further deplete it to try and make a playoff push, or maybe go the other way, or maybe do nothing? Hard to say. But they are the final team in contention for the AL postseason. So if the playoffs started today, that's what we're going to do now. On the NL side, we've got 6 and 3. That would be Miami and the Braves. And down here we have the 5 and the 4 seeds. That is the Phillies and the Cubs. Oh no, they don't meet each other. Duh. And then, so then the winners play. They play. The 4-5 would play the number 1 seed. So that would be the LA Dodgers play them, and the Brewers play the winner of that, and then the winners play in the NLCS. Should I make predictions? Let's be ridiculous and make predictions. I'm going to have the Braves here, and then I'm going to have the Braves here, and I'm going to have the Cubbies here, and the Dodgers here, and oh no, the Dodgers in the World Series. Now let's do the NL. So we've got 6 and 3 over here. That would be Seattle and Texas, both from the AL West. So they would play. They would play the Chicago White Sox, the winner of that series. And then 5 and 4 down here would be the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians. And then they would play the Tampa Bay Rays. The winner of that would face off against them. So we'll make some predictions. We'll say Seattle gets it together. And then we'll say my Yankees win here. Let's have fun and say Tampa Bay wins there. Seattle wins there. And let's have Seattle in the World Series against the Dodgers. And oh, look at that. The Dodgers won. Hard to say. I mean, Atlanta could make a move. This is just a ridiculous exercise because we don't know trades. We don't know injuries. We don't know second half performances. But this is just some fun. But that would be the bracket as of now. If it started today, obviously the wild card round, best of 3. The DS and the CS, or no, DS is best of 5, and then CS and World Series are best of 7. But yeah, so that's where we're at, halfway through the year, roughly, at the All-Star break. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, all that good stuff to help the channel. It really does help. Appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. This community has been great. I really love making videos and interacting with you guys, talking with you guys online. Would love to do some more. Hopefully, I'm able to do some more later this year, more than one a month, but so far, that's all I can do with work and life and everything. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the All-Star break, the All-Star game, and the Home Run Derby. And I'll see you in the next video.